so second part of courage. And this part is in particular going to be geared towards what I learned in DOS, during DOS, about courage. And it's interesting because I did learn things about courage when I was in DOS, and a lot of it was through just accepting my mistakes. I think we've talked about this, but I'll say a little bit just really quick. When we, in order to be, one of the practices that we did was, in order to be more character based, or like to have more character within us and be able to be stronger internally and externally, we used to do these practices of readiness, right? We used to do the practices of we used to receive a message, and then we had to answer within a certain amount of time. And in those practices, a lot of the times I failed because I didn't have my phone with me, not because I was like purposefully, saying like, okay, I'm going to leave my phone. I was most of the times just not mindful enough about what I was doing during my day. And, I think through DOS, what I learned was just to be courageous enough to accept my mistakes. And again, I said a little bit about that in the earlier, on the earlier video, but it is, for me, it is a type of courage to be like, okay, I messed up, and just fully own it without excuses, without, justifications, without any of that. It's just owning it and be like, okay, this was on me, and how do I fix it for next time? So I think during DOS, that was one of the big things for me. And then definitely after this whole thing imploded, and the courage that I have developed in order to just be what we're doing, as the Dossier women, just telling our experience and saying things the way they were for us, and what it was and what it wasn't. I have developed, I think, a lot of that particular skill, the courage to, again, just stand up for what I believe, stand up for my experience. And, it's been harsh because sometimes a lot of the people can just claim that my experience was different, or that I'm trying to change things, or, just difference of opinions, which is totally fine. But when someone tries to tell you that what you lived was wrong and that it wasn't like that, that's starking still for me. And I think that I have developed a lot of courage to just be like, no, that was not my experience. This was my experience, and this is what I'm going to stand up for, and I will keep standing up for that.
It's courage. It's really taking action where you're not certain of what people will think or do, and so there were many times where I had to make a choice between sticking to what I believed was important to me and my values, and going against possible rejection from family, friends, other people who I really cared about and really wanted to get approval from. It really took a lot of courage for me to be able to go against and disagree with a lot of people. A lot of people, like family members and friends that have known me for decades even. I realized, even though I may risk losing their friendship or having them be involved in my life as much, I ultimately had to decide for myself if I could live with myself, knowing if I compromised my values and what's important to me just to get approval from others. So that's, to me, why people are often too afraid, because they're afraid of losing people or things or status or money and so forth. And I guess the blessing in that is really to know that I have the courage to really stand up for what I believe in and what's important to me, and no one else can take that away from me.
So one of the reasons that I joined DOS was, to improve myself, to become a better version of myself. And as I mentioned in videos before, I'm naturally quite an introvert, so I'm not the kind of person, to approach people and really to talk to them. So based on both of those two things, one of the assignments that my master had given me was to every day get a piece of feedback from someone. So what I would do is I would write to someone that I'd known for a while and ask them if they'd be willing to give me some feedback on me, tell me how they perceived me, how they saw me, and specifically if there was an area that they saw that I could improve or be better at, if they saw me as being a certain way that they thought I could evolve. So doing that, so approaching the person and asking them, that took courage. It was uncomfortable for me. It was, kind of scary, getting the feedback, hearing what people had to say about me. That's how one of the assignments that I experienced in DOS that needed a bit of courage to do.
I want to speak to the courage it took, I imagine everyone, but certainly it took me to give collateral to my master. I told about this thing loosely and told, hey, I want to tell you more. I'd like your commitment to keep it private and keep it a secret. And if you're willing to do that, then I am asking you to give collateral as surety and proof that you're backing up. I'm going to keep this a secret, what you're about to tell me. And so, okay, I followed all that reasoning and it sort of made rational sense. But when you actually go to create this collateral, this sensitive material that is meaningful, to you personally, I experienced this. It was only me making this decision because I had already committed not to be chit-chatting about this with others. I couldn't get, friends who'd be like, yeah, you can do it. You couldn't get false promises that, no, this is a good decision. It'll be fine. It'll all work out. And so you're doing this thing that's extremely vulnerable, like designed literally to be vulnerable, designed to put you at a certain kind of risk. You're deciding, do I trust this person or not to give them this sensitive information? And the decision is up to me, nobody else, and nobody else is giving me any advice. So I have to just sit with myself and figure it out. Am I willing to take this risk or not? So the risk became very apparent, just in your face, unavoidable. And there was only two ways to go. Yes, I'll do it and I'll make this, collateral and I'll hand it over to you, or no, thank you. I'm not willing to do that. And there's no right or wrong way to go about doing it. But what was so amazing is just that the experience of DOS, it was set up to create these kinds of experiences where you're faced with a choice that you can't wiggle out. You realizing you have a decision, there's two choices, make one and live with it. And it required courage. Honestly, I think anybody who was ever approached with DOS likely had to dig up some courage, whether they said, yes, here's some collateral, or said, no, thank you. And I think all the women are better off for having had that experience of seeing themselves, experiencing their decision-making potency and their ability to dig deep and be courageous.
Well, thank you very much for listening as always. Goodbye.